Hey my fellow monsters, welcome to my channel. I'm Lydia, aka Mama Monster, and here we do everything horror. So I'm super excited about this video today because we are talking about my top 10 favorite horror movie openers. I know that we all have different opinions and thoughts about different horror movies, but these are my favorite. And honestly, I've been excited for a really long time to do this because before I started YouTube, I actually jotted in a notebook about a bunch of ideas I wanted to do, and this was one of the ones I was most excited about. And I am happy that I waited to do it because I did add a movie in that I saw for the first time last year and it deserved to be on my list. So if this is something you would like to see, grab a snack, maybe a drink, and let's get into it. So my number 10 goes to none other than A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. So of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street was going to make my top 10 because not only is Freddy Krueger my favorite villain, but this opening scene leading up to Tina's dream is iconic. Watching this unknown person build this glove with knives for fingers for the first time and watching them trying it on is intriguing and creepy at the same time. Next we have The Stepfather from 1987. I love how we start off by seeing this nice suburban home in what seems to be a calm neighborhood. Our first glance into the home is the bathroom where we see Jerry covered in blood, and even with that, it's still a mystery with what has happened. We see the process of him changing his identity, and then he proceeds to clean up a bit for him to only walk downstairs to reveal the bloodbath he has created. In my number 8 spot, we have The Conjuring 2. The Conjuring 2 is my favorite out of the universe, but this is not why it made my list. This opening scene not only gave me chills because of the imagery, but because of the story behind it. Meshing The Conjuring and one of the most iconic ghost stories we've learned about, the Amityville house, is genius. Watching Lorraine Warren walk through the house seen through the eyes of Ronald DeFeo Jr. and mimicking him is pretty terrifying. Also, I might add that Vera Farmiga's acting is impeccable in this sequence, but the real question is, do you believe these ghost stories are real? Number 7 goes to Bride of Chucky. I love how this opening first takes place at an evidence dispository and showcases some of our favorite villains' masks or weapons from the franchises that we love. We see that they are all locked up and a police officer grabs a bag from an unsolved locker. He then drives to a secluded location where he is our first kill of the movie, a slashed throat for none other than Tiffany. We then get to see this beautiful shot of Chucky's head next to hers. She then walks away in a distance, and as Rob Zombie's Living Dead Girl is playing, we are taken to her trailer where we see her obsession with Chucky by the shrine made up of the news articles about him. I know that the Child's Play franchise has some iconic scenes, but something about him getting stitched back together just hits different. In my 6th spot, we have Tag from 2015. Now Tag is a bizarre, thought-provoking Japanese horror film that I couldn't leave off of this list, solely based off of shock value. I had not watched the trailer and went into this film blind, but this opening scene literally made my jaw drop. What we see is a group of students that are having a fun and memorable time on this bus ride. Within a matter of seconds, everything changes. Now I've seen something like this before, but like I said, this was not expected, and not gonna lie, it's pretty horrific. As our lead bends down to pick up a pen that she dropped, we see the bus in front of them shatter, and right after that, what seems to be an invisible blade slices right through their bus, leaving everyone else on the bus with half of their bodies. She stands up to be covered by blood gushing all over her. And I don't know about y'all, but this definitely unlocked a new fear for me. Coming at number 5 is The Ring from 2002. This remake didn't just give us what the opening did in the original Japanese film Ringu, but it gave us so much more. The opening with the color scheme gives off an unsettling ambiance. Even with it being almost 20 years later since it released, I remember how eerie it felt on my first watch, and it still holds up today. In my number 4 spot, we have Final Destination. So as someone who loves to travel and has been to 19 countries, it may be hard to believe that I have a fear of flying. I remember how this opening scene stayed in my mind for days. Watching everything play out so vividly, right in front of you on screen, is so scary. That's why the Final Destination movies can be so impactful, taking everyday life things and turning it into a not so beautiful disaster. We are now at my top 3 favorite horror movie openings, and at number 3 we have Urban Legend. So when it comes to opening scenes, this is the one that always comes to my mind. We see this young woman driving and almost out of gas, and first of all, it can be scary pulling over to a gas station at night when there's no one around. The way they set this scene up looks as if Brad Dourif is a bad guy and is trying to assault her to only flip the script on us to show us he was only trying to help her.
Someone's in the back seat!
Gives me the chills every single time, and honestly, I feel like this film is always overlooked and not given the love it deserves. Number 2 spot goes to Ghost Ship. So this film starts off with a lovely tone. You see a cruise ship, which brings you to all the guests dancing and enjoying the music sung by the cruise ship singer. Just seems like a beautiful time, but then the tone rapidly changes and the music starts to feel unsettling, which leads us to see a wire slice through everyone on that particular deck. It is then dead silent, and we are left to hear and see these guests literally fall apart. Seeing these guests lying in a pool of their own blood while trying to put themselves together definitely left an imprint that will always be stuck in my mind. So before we move on to my number 1 spot, I do have some honorable mentions. My first mention is Final Destination 2. I mean, what else can you say? That opening, wow. I mean, I feel like we all know not to drive behind a truck with logs, right? Yeah, of course I had to talk about 1978's Halloween. I love how we saw from Michael's point of view at the very beginning. It was smart that they did it that way. We see all these things happening. We see a murder happen, all to find out that it's a 6-year-old behind this mask. I don't know what else is creepier than a kid with a knife. My next mention is Child's Play 2, and just because it's another one of we see them putting him back together again, and it's just iconic, just that whole opening sequence. I love it so much. Next, I would like to mention The Collection, where we see another bloodbath. A group of people at a club get plowed through by this spiky contraption. Not sure exactly what it is, but it is crazy. It is great, but obviously it's not on the level as Ghost Ship or Tag, maybe because the acting wasn't that great and the CGI is kind of extreme. Next, I would like to mention It from 1990, and I'm not talking about Georgie's scene. I am talking about the very beginning when we see this little girl on a tricycle. And do y'all know who that little girl on the tricycle is? The girl from Final Destination 3 and Malibu Shark Attack. Yeah, that's her. She's just a little tiny girl. But her on the trike, and she sees Pennywise for the very first time, and he seems very inviting, and something so scary about it. The sheet blows into his face, and then when it comes off, he just looks so evil, so evil. And that has always stuck with me since I was a little kid. Love it. Lastly, I also had to talk about Scream 2. The movie setting, the acting, everything was perfect about this beginning. And honestly, it's just as memorable as the original for me. And speaking of the original, we're at my number 1 spot, which goes to Scream from 1996. Now, I don't know if this number 1 makes me basic or not, but come on, this opening scene is iconic. Scream in itself put horror back on the market, and having Drew Barrymore, a huge movie star, killed off after having her on all the marketing to promote Scream was risk-taking, but also shows you that in this film, nobody is safe. The tension buildup makes it so much scarier, and this movie has become a staple for all horror fans. Seeing this person in a mask not walk but run after her is also very frightening. I can't think of anything better. So with that being the conclusion of my top 10, did y'all know that Drew Barrymore actually came out with the idea of her being killed off in the beginning? Genius. I would love to know your top 10 favorite horror movie openings. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let's chat about it. Comment down below. I absolutely had so much fun with this video. I do plan to do more top 10s, especially top 10 kills from my favorite franchises. I loved when I did Jason a few months ago, so I do plan on doing more. I really hope you like this video. Please do not forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know every time I upload. My socials will be down below. I would love to have you over there, especially Instagram is always a good time meeting and chatting with new people. So yeah, until next time, bye.